Have you ever looked at someone who lived a long life and thought she was just lucky, as if the years simply landed on her by accident? I used to hear that word whispered about me all the time, lucky, as if 95 years arrived like a gift dropped from the sky, as if my body, my mind, my strength, and my clarity were handed to me by chance. But I am here to tell you, plainly, honestly, and without romance, that luck had very little to do with it. I am 95 years old. I have buried friends who were younger than me. I have watched people with better genetics, better doctors, and better excuses grow old far too fast. And I have learned something most people never want to hear. Longevity is not dramatic. It is not heroic. It is not built on rare moments. It is built on ordinary days, repeated without applause. Nothing in my life changed overnight. Nothing about my health came from a breakthrough or a miracle cure. What carried me here was discipline so small it often looked insignificant. Choices made quietly, consistently, and without negotiation. I did not wait to feel motivated. I did not blame fate. I did not bargain with my habits. People love to say, it's all genetics because it frees them from responsibility. Others say, it's too late because it comforts their regret. But I have lived long enough to see those beliefs collapse under the weight of time. Genes may load the gun, but daily behavior pulls the trigger or sets it down. This is not a story about perfection. I failed. I adjusted. I learned slowly. What I did do, what mattered most, was show up every day and make the same unglamorous decisions again and again. If you are looking for luck, you will not find it here. But if you are willing to understand discipline, you may find more years than you ever thought possible. When people hear the word discipline, they imagine punishment, deprivation, a rigid life stripped of joy. I once believed that too until life taught me otherwise. Discipline is not cruelty. Discipline is protection. It is the quiet structure that keeps you standing long after enthusiasm has disappeared. Daily discipline is not about doing extreme things. It is about refusing to let small neglects turn into permanent damage. Every long life I have observed, mine included, was built not on brilliance, but on restraint, on knowing when to stop, on knowing when not to indulge, on knowing when to rest, even when the world tells you to push. Let me be very clear about something most people misunderstand. Longevity is not the result of one good habit. It is the absence of many bad ones, repeated faithfully over decades. People search for a secret, but secrets are exciting. Discipline is dull, and dull is precisely why it works. I did not eat perfectly. I ate predictably. I did not exercise intensely. I moved consistently. I did not eliminate stress. I learned to interrupt it before it poisoned my body. These distinctions matter because the body responds to patterns, not intentions. Sleep, for example, was never optional for me. I treated it as medicine long before anyone told me it was. I went to bed when my body asked, not when entertainment ended. Over time, that single discipline protected my hormones, my immune system, my memory, and my mood. People underestimate sleep because it looks passive. but biologically, it is one of the most active processes your body performs. Neglect it long enough, and no supplement will save you. Movement followed the same principle. I never chased exhaustion. I chased circulation. I walked when others sat. I stretched when others stiffened. I moved not to burn calories, but to remind my body that it was still needed. Muscles do not disappear because of age. They disappear because they are no longer invited to participate in life. Food, too, was never about rules. It was about rhythm. I ate meals that looked similar day after day, not because I lacked imagination, but because my body appreciated reliability. I avoided overeating not through willpower, but through respect. I stopped before fullness became strain. Over decades, that single habit spared my organs from constant overload. Stress was the most dangerous enemy of all. Not acute stress. Life always has moments of pressure, but chronic, unresolved stress, the kind people normalize. I learned early that resentment, bitterness, and constant worry aged the body faster than time ever could. So I practiced something radical. I let things end. Arguments, expectations, relationships that drained more than they gave. People call this emotional detachment. I call it survival. Avoidance behaviors matter too, even though no one likes to talk about them. I avoided excess alcohol not because it was forbidden, but because I observed what it did to others over years. I avoided smoking not out of fear, but out of foresight. I avoided late nights, chaotic schedules, and environments that demanded constant stimulation. These were not sacrifices, they were investments. Here is the part most people resist. None of this felt dramatic. There were no before and after moments, no sudden transformations. The payoff of discipline is delayed, invisible, and cumulative. That is why people abandon it. They want proof before commitment. But biology works the other way around. It rewards commitment long before it offers evidence. I have watched people adopt intense routines for weeks, only to abandon them when results failed to arrive on schedule. Discipline does not negotiate with impatience. It compounds quietly, like interest in a savings account you do not check every day. Years later, the balance speaks for itself. Luck, in comparison, plays a very small role. Yes, chance exists. Accidents happen. Illness can arrive uninvited. But discipline determines how resilient you are when those moments come. I have recovered from illnesses that took others my age because my foundation was strong, not perfect, strong. Genetics, too, deserve their proper place, secondary, not central. I have siblings who shared my genes and none of my habits. They aged differently, not because fate favored me, but because behavior followed me every day, quietly shaping outcomes. People often ask me when it's too late to start. That question misunderstands how the body works. The body responds to what you do now. Always. It does not punish you for the past. It only reacts to the present. Discipline does not erase history, but it does influence trajectory. Direction matters more than distance traveled. Daily discipline is boring because it is repetitive, but repetition is how biology learns. Cells adapt to what they experience most often. Hormones calibrate to routines. The nervous system stabilizes under predictability. Chaos ages you, rhythm sustains you. I did not live this way because I wanted to reach 95. I lived this way because it made each day lighter, calmer, and more manageable. Longevity arrived as a byproduct, not a goal. If you are searching for motivation, you will struggle. Motivation fades. Discipline remains because it does not depend on emotion. It depends on decision. One decision, renewed daily, without drama. This is the truth most people do not want. Long life is built on ordinary days lived deliberately. Nothing more, nothing less. Most people imagine aging as something that happens to them, as if time itself were the sculptor, carving lines into the body and draining strength without consent. Living long has taught me that this is only half true. Time provides the canvas, but daily choices hold the brush. What you do repeatedly leaves marks long before you notice them. The body does not respond to single decisions. It responds to patterns. One poor night of sleep does not ruin you. One nourishing meal does not save you. What matters is the direction you lean in day after day, year after year. Biology is patient, but it is also honest. It reflects back exactly what it has been given. When I was younger, I did not think in terms of decades. I thought in terms of today. Could I make this day slightly less harmful to my body than the last? Could I remove one small strain instead of adding another? Those modest questions shaped everything. I was not chasing optimization. I was reducing damage. Every habit sends a signal. Regular movement tells the heart to stay strong. Predictable meals tell the pancreas not to panic. Consistent sleep tells the brain it is safe. Calm reactions tell the nervous system it does not need to live in emergency mode. Over time, these signals stack on top of each other like bricks. Eventually, you are either living inside a sturdy structure or a fragile one. People often underestimate how powerfully the nervous system influences aging. When you live in constant urgency, always rushing, always reacting, always stimulated, the body never exits survival mode. In that state, repair is postponed. Inflammation rises, digestion weakens, memory fades faster. I learned to slow my responses not for spiritual reasons, but biological ones. Calm is not a luxury. It is a requirement for repair. I also learned that discipline protects decision-making itself. When your days are structured, you spend less energy negotiating with yourself. Fatigue leads to poor choices, and poor choices accumulate. By simplifying my routines, I preserved mental energy. That clarity allowed me to notice problems early, subtle changes in appetite, sleep, or mood, before they became crises. There is a misconception that discipline limits freedom. In truth, it expands it. Because my body functioned reliably, I could live independently longer. I could think clearly longer. I could enjoy people without exhaustion. The discipline that looked restrictive from the outside gave me the freedom most people lose early. The compounding effect of habits becomes obvious only when you reach advanced age. I have seen two paths diverge clearly. Those who neglected themselves spend their later years managing decline. Those who practice discipline spend their later years managing life. The difference is not subtle. It is visible in posture, speech, patience, and resilience. People ask whether discipline prevents illness. That is the wrong question. Nothing prevents everything. Discipline does something far more valuable. It raises your margin of safety. It increases your capacity to recover. It shortens the distance between setback and stability. When challenges come, as they always do, you are not starting from zero. I have had my share of health scares. What surprised doctors was not that I encountered them, but how well my body responded. Healing is not magic. It is resources meeting demand. Discipline builds reserves. Neglect drains them. This is why I reject overnight success stories in health. They sell hope without infrastructure. The body cannot be tricked. It requires time, repetition, and consistency. Anyone promising transformation without these is selling fantasy. Real change is quieter, slower, and far more reliable. There is also a moral dimension people rarely mention. Daily discipline teaches patience, humility, and responsibility. You stop blaming. You stop waiting. You become an active participant in your own future. That psychological shift alone reduces stress and restores a sense of control many people lose with age. If you are listening to this and thinking, I've already made too many mistakes, understand this. The body only counts what you do next. It does not hold grudges. It responds proportionally. Every disciplined day tilts the scale slightly in your favor. Over months, that tilt becomes visible. Over years, it becomes decisive. I never tried to outsmart aging. I simply refused to ignore it. I respected my body enough to give it consistency. In return, it carried me farther than luck ever could. Long life is not built by extraordinary effort. It is built by ordinary restraint, applied relentlessly. That is the compounding truth no one can bypass. So now you understand why I never credit luck for the years I have lived. Luck is noisy. It takes credit without responsibility. Discipline is quiet. It works without asking to be seen. I did not wake up each morning thinking about longevity. I woke up thinking about today, about making choices my future body would not have to pay for. That mindset carried me farther than optimism ever could. Hope is fragile. Discipline is stable. If there is one thing I want you to take from my life, it is this. Aging is not a cliff you fall from. It is a slope you slide down slowly unless you place your feet deliberately. Every habit is a step. Every routine is a direction. You are not powerless in this process unless you decide to be. You do not need perfection. You need consistency. You do not need intensity. You need repetition. And you do not need to start young. You only need to start honestly with the body you have today. Some people will always say, "She was lucky." Let them. Luck requires no explanation. Discipline does, and most people do not want to hear it. But if you are willing to live without drama, without excuses, and without waiting for motivation, the body responds in ways that feel almost generous. I am 95 years old, not because fate smiled at me, but because I showed up for my life in small, unremarkable ways for a very long time. The years followed naturally. Longevity is not a mystery. It is a relationship, one built daily, quietly, and deliberately. And that relationship is still available to you starting now.